Hello, friendos and bendos, it's me Z, and Marvel is coming out with Marvel Rivals, a new game in the style of Overwatch or Paladins in less than a week. And it got me thinking, what would a DC Rivals be like? Who would the characters in that game be? DC has made a ton of different games in the past. Fighting games, MMOs, card games, most of those failed, but they still made them. And I'm just surprised that they haven't done a shooter game. So this is my attempt to create a roster for a potential DC Rivals. 30 characters, 10 characters for each role of DPS, tank, and support. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, let's begin with the tanks. And I feel like the first answer that comes to mind if you're asked the question, which DC character would make a perfect tank for a hero shooter? I'm pretty sure the answer that will come to your mind is Superman. I mean, he is the man of steel, the face of invulnerability, alright? Heat vision, freeze breath, maybe he could do, I don't know, a solar flare for his ultimate. There are so many possibilities, and it's just a no-brainer, really. Okay, another no-brainer character is Wonder Woman, and I was flip-flopping between any of the three roles, but I feel like I landed on tank because it just worked the best, with her, bracelets of submission, being able to deflect attacks, maybe she even has shield. I feel like her lasso would make a very good, grappling, stun type ability that these games always seem to have, and I just think that there is such a wide variety of different play styles that Diana could possibly fit into, given the right kind of mechanics. And I would main the shit out of Wonder Woman in a hero shooter, okay? Like, for the brief period that I played Multiversus, I mained Wonder Woman because she's just the absolute best, and I really hope that I absolutely know that if a DC hero shooter ever comes out, Wonder Woman has to be there, and when she's there, I'm gonna play the shit out of her. Next up as a tank is a pretty interesting idea, IMO, which is Lex Luthor. Imagine Lex Luthor, for a hero shooter, he, goes into his, special anti-Superman suit, and he just wreaks havoc all over the place, alright? I'm talking, laser beams, missiles, maybe, that shield, projected shield that characters in these games always seem to have. Oh my god. But I do think that Lex Luthor would work absolutely amazingly for a hero shooter. It just feels right. Another character that feels right for a hero shooter and as a tank is Cyborg, okay? Again, sonic cannon, a projected shield, maybe he could even have some hacking mechanics, kind of like Sombra has in Overwatch. I think any of those would be really neat, and I think I would honestly, if Wonder Woman wasn't, the top case for a main, I feel like I would probably main Cyborg because those ideas just seem really cool. Another founding member of the Justice League who I feel like definitely has to be there is Aquaman. I think that Aquaman, depending on how you design him, could work really well as a tank because, Aquaman has his super strength and stuff, but depending on the version, he could also have, hydrokinesis. He could also call upon, creatures from the deep. Maybe his ultimate is calling upon, his giant octopus friend that he has. I forget the name constantly, but I think that would be really cool. There are so many possibilities for how you could incorporate how he summons fish into the battlefield, so I think that's really fun. I really dig the idea of Aquaman more and more when I think about him. I feel like Martian Manhunter also would definitely have to be in this game. Again, another founding member of the Justice League with a ton of different powers, alright? Invisibility and intangibility, shape-shifting, okay? Mind reading, alright? This could make for an absolutely banger of a versatile character, Maybe he doesn't even need to be necessarily a tank, okay? Maybe he could be a more support tank hybrid, But honestly, all these different ideas will work amazingly for Martian Manhunter. And let's continue this alien trend with Lobo, alright? Lobo as a bounty hunter has so many different weapons, guns, knives, bombs, so much shit. And I feel like he could work so well for a hero shooter. Like, again, kind of a no-brainer character to introduce in a hero shooter. And I feel like for his ultimate, he could summon his, iconic, hover bike and just absolutely cream the arena. Ooh, I would love Lobo. Along with that, let's add in some new gods, alright? Big Barda. I would love Big Barda to be in this game. Her Mega Rod could have so many different possibilities, summon a boom tube with it, laser beams with it, fly with it. There's so many opportunities for Big Barda. And since Marvel Rivals has a team-up mechanic, I feel like she would be the perfect character for a team-up mechanic with her husband, Mr. Miracle. Alright, we're kind of skipping ahead here, but I feel like Mr. Miracle could be a wonderful support. Can you imagine that? A Mr. Miracle supports Big Barda tank duo with a really cool team attack possibly. And I feel like Mr. Miracle just works so well for a support, as well. Because again, boom tubes, but also he has his flying discs. He's always getting out of different situations. You read a Mr. Miracle comic, you're like, how the fuck is he gonna survive this? Immediately he pulls out the most random bullshit ever. It's amazing. I feel like it could work so well. Alright? Now, the final tank is Darkseid. Darkseid is, what can I say? I feel like you gotta have Darkseid in this game. I'm surprised that Injustice 1 didn't have him. I think Injustice 1 didn't have him. Let me check. Okay, yeah, I just got back from checking, and Darkseid wasn't a character until Injustice 2, which is absolutely crazy to me. Alright, I feel like if I were to play a DC game, and, a DC multiplayer game, and Darkseid was in it, and, I can play Darkseid, I'd be like, what is this shit? You know what I mean? Omega beams, cruising across the map, his Omega effect as a whole would be so cool. Just the god of evil. I mean, come on, what else could you want? Alright, imagine a Superman on one team, Darkseid on the other team showdown. That would be awesome. And my final suggestion for a tank is gonna be Gorilla Grodd, because 1, monkey, 2, big monkey, and 3, because he's awesome. Okay? Okay, good. Alright, now let's move on to DPS. And I feel like Deathstroke is kind of like just the character for a DPS in a hero shooter, He's got them guns and he's got them swords. I mean, that's what the Teen Titans Go movie said. And that was peak fiction. So, we gotta go through with that. We got it.
You got them guns!
And the swords.
Yeah, well, lots of people have guns and swords, okay?
I'm thinking a very classic, he can either have a gun or a sword as his main weapon at a time, and then as a passive, he has, better regeneration or something, and then he also has a skill to, boost his attack rate, I feel like that just is classic. It's a classic archetype, and it works very well for Deathstroke. Along with this, I feel like this is inevitable for a DC hero shooter, but Harley Quinn, alright? You might not want to admit it, but Harley has kind of become another face of DC, and I feel like she works very well for a hero shooter, alright? She can use guns, her baseball bat, her mallet, so much stuff, and I think that it could work so incredibly well. It'd be so fun. Nightwing also feels like a character who has to be there in a DC hero shooter. A martial arts character seems to always be in these types of games, and I think that Nightwing could work very well. He could use his Excrema sticks, bow staff, birdarangs, his bike, so much different stuff. I'd absolutely love to see Nightwing in this type of game. Along with that, another archetype that has to be done is the bow character. So let's put in Green Arrow, alright? And the amount of trick arrows that you could possibly use, it would be so fun, alright? Grappling arrow, boxing glove arrow, freeze arrow, motherfucking quantum dimensional arrow. All I'm saying is that Green Arrow feels like another no-brainer. Now, Cheetah. I think that Cheetah needs to be in this game. First of all, she just needs more respect in general. Like, she is one of Wonder Woman's biggest ops, and yet she gets no respect for some reason, even though she's one of the strongest and definitely one of the fastest characters in the DC universe. I could see her blitzing her way through crowds of enemies, speeding her way across the map. I think that it would be tons of fun to have Cheetah in the game. And here's a wilder pick. Here's a really wild pick. Atrocitus and Dexstar, alright? Could you imagine that? Like, I could imagine it in so many different ways, but I'm thinking Atrocitus, he's the main one, but then Dexstar either, a few of his attacks work with Dexstar. Like, maybe Dexstar's is passive, and, maybe if he charges it up, his attacks get powered up with, Dexstar adding into it, and I think his ultimate could be him just letting Dexstar loose in a frenzy. I think that would be very awesome. And it's a little weird to talk about the Red Lanterns before the Green Lanterns, but I wanted to anyway. But still, Green Lantern, alright? Green Lantern has to be in this game as well, alright? And you could have all the Green Lanterns as skins, or maybe you could have different Green Lanterns for different roles. Either way, I think that Green Lantern would be a really cool character just for any role, really. Again, the power of imagination and willpower is all that's stopping Green Lantern from doing anything. So really, any kind of power in this game would work well for Green Lantern, any kind of mechanic, anything whatsoever, and I absolutely love the possibilities. Next up, let's have Starfire, alright? Energy Blast, Super Strength, Flight, amazing speed. I also think that a really interesting mechanic would be either like an emotions mechanic or a solar power mechanic. Either one of those would work very well given the fact that she's a Tamaranian, and those are integral parts of Tamaranian biology and culture, and I think that would work really well. Maybe also she could have like a passive with her hair trails behind her. Maybe that could indicate whether she's powered up or not, or maybe that itself could be a type of attack. I also think that Beast Boy would work incredibly well as well. I mean, he could have tons and tons. He could be like a stance character with several different types of forms. He could be the most complex character in the game if you really wanted him to be, and I just absolutely would love to play Beast Boy as well. Alright, another very good main contender, for my main, if this were to ever be a game. And finally, I was going to go with Black Canary, so figure this is an honorable mention to Black Canary, but the more that I thought about it, I was thinking, why not Huntress? Huntress, I think that she could work very well. Her crossbow would make another very interesting type of weapon, because it's not necessarily a gun, but it's not necessarily like a regular bow either. It could have pretty interesting mechanics, and she's another character, master martial artist. I think it could work very well. Again, Black Canary though, she could also work, in this role, just replace the, crossbow with, her sonic scream, but I kind of wanted to put Huntress just because she's a little bit of rarer, a little bit of a rarer choice, you know what I mean? I don't want to feel, sophisticated for putting her here. Finally are the supports, and I already talked about Mr. Miracle, but now I'm going to talk about another character, who's going to be a support, and you're probably waiting for, this entire video, Batman. Batman's obviously going to be in the game. I mean, come on guys, he's Batman, but I feel like he works best as a support because, batarangs from afar, smoke bombs, computer intelligence. Maybe you could, I don't know, there's so many different ways that you could implement Batman, but I feel like he works best as a support character because that's kind of the role that he plays when he's, a Justice Leaguer, and I just really like that idea for Batman, and I think he could maybe also use maybe some of his vehicles, maybe? I don't know. But either way, I do think that Batman works best as a support. Another character who works best as a support is his arch nemesis, the Joker, alright? The Joker, baby. I think that Joker should also be a support type character. It's not in Joker's nature necessarily to, be a support, but I feel like Joker, the type of moveset he could have, it lends best to a support type role, Maybe he has, his flower, his acid flower, maybe he could obstruct pathways with that, or, the teeth, bear trap, or there's just so many possibilities for the Joker as well. I think he would work very well as a support. I feel like supports is a very underrated role. It's a role that I mostly play in pretty much every type of game, but I feel like people underestimate support as just, the healing class, when support can have so much more than just healing, they can be zoning and controlling the field. It works so well. I really do think that Batman and Joker, them being supports, would actually enhance them, not inhibit them. Similarly, we talked about, hybrid characters a bit before, but I feel like Zatanna could work very well as a hybrid between a support and a DPS, because she could control the board. She control the match, I'm feeling like maybe she lets all the rabbits out of her hat and they swarm the battlefield, they cause, slowness or whatever, or root enemies. She could also root them, with her special magic abilities. She could summon all types of monsters. She could, shoot lightning, laser beams, stars, so much stuff. Zatanna, so many possibilities. I think she works very well in this type of game as well. The Flash, another character that I previously didn't talk about because I was saving them for support. I think the Flash would be kind of hard to implement, but I still think it could be done. Maybe his movement speed builds up over time, or his attack speed builds up over time. Maybe he works like with shooting lightning, using his Speed Force powers, that's his main attack. Or maybe that could be his ultimate. Maybe he could go back in time, alright? Or maybe, maybe you could say that for Booster Gold. There's always the time travel character in these types of games, but you could say that for Booster Gold, I think. So maybe not the Flash, but still, it's an idea. Some more magical characters. I always feel like the Wizard and Witch magical characters always work best for support. So let's just rapid fire some of them. Cersei, Raven, Dr. Fate. All of these guys work very well for support roles, and they have different kinds of vibes. Like Raven's an empath. Dr. Fate, he's a Lord of Order. Cersei, she's really chaotic and villainous. I feel like all of them can have very different vibes as, support mages. Well, I guess it's a hero shooter, so there's not really support mages like a MOBA would have, but either way, I do still feel like all three of these guys work very well. Next up, Scarecrow. Okay, Scarecrow, the more I think about it, the more and more I really want him to be in this type of game, because I can imagine he could have so many different stuff, with a fair mechanic, slows. He could just be super, super annoying, okay? And maybe, for his ult, he shows each character, a different fear, and it just, absolutely just destroys, their stats and, fears them and stuff, and, each different character could have a different, major fear that could be a very fun thing for Scarecrow to have. I really like that idea. And the final character, the final support is, alright, this is kind of for me, but Sideways. I mean, he would work absolutely amazingly as the best, team mobility character. I also think that he could just work very well. Maybe he could have Tempest as his ultimate, Tempest Fuginaut, who was kind of his mentor figure in the comic. I feel like Sideways would work very well, and I just want to see more Sideways, okay? So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. Those are just my thoughts on who would be in my ideal starting roster for a DC Rivals type game. Who do I think would, span the best across the DC universe, different mechanics, so I think would work best, tons of stuff. Leave in the comments below what kind of characters that you think should be in the game. I'm thinking, again, I mentioned Booster Gold, and a time travel mechanic with him, but there's always tons of other characters they could use, Blue Beetle, either of them, either Jaime or Ted Cord, you could have the Turtle maybe. There's so much stuff, and so yeah, bye.